if you're a U.S. citizen, a U.S. green card holder, or in any other way a U.S. person for tax purposes, you are required to report your bank accounts and all foreign financial accounts to the U.S. government every year or face substantial penalties. Today, I'm going to give you not just bank accounts, but all the types of accounts that you might want to consider to make sure you stay in compliance. Now, let me say this right up front. This is not tax advice, and it's thoroughly not exhaustive. So the only way you're going to find the exact list of forms to file and what you need to do for your own situation is to talk to someone. We work with a number of accountants and tax lawyers who specialize in international tax, both in the United States, and we work with people like that all over the world. We help people put the pieces of the puzzle together. This is a list that we put together with one of the vendors in our network. And again, it's absolutely not exhaustive, but I'm going to give you some things to think about because I think a lot of people figure, I don't have to file an FBAR, which is the form electronically you would file to report foreign financial accounts. They often think they don't have to file it because, oh, I live overseas, so that doesn't count. I'm not hiding any money. I'm actually living in this country. Doesn't matter. Or they think, oh, but I don't have enough money. Well, if you've got $10,000 or more at any time during the calendar year in the aggregate of all your accounts put together, not just, oh, I got a couple bucks here and a couple bucks there, add it all up. If you have that money, you've got to report. And there are different thresholds, by the way. So $10,000 is the most common one, but there's other thresholds that you want to keep in mind. So people often think they don't have to file. And then you see headlines in some of the tax journals that we get where someone's being penalized $200,000 or $4 million or $7 million, and they're appealing and they usually lose. And so I don't want you to be in that position. I'm going to give you a taste, and you will take this to whomever it is that you want to work with, whether it's our vendors at Nomad Capitalist or whether it's someone that you work with on your own. Remember, international tax requires an international tax expert. Don't hire the same guy. Oh, he went to China once. I'm sure he knows about. No. Hire someone who specializes in international tax. I've seen so many people who live overseas, expats, etc., get burned, and they've had some problems. So, if it's your first time here, I'm Andrew Henderson, founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best, from reducing your taxes, diversifying and protecting your assets. It's the kind of things you need to report on an FBAR or other forms if you are an American. We also help people get second citizenships and just basically go where they can be free in an unfree world. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And so here's what I would first say. Don't be discouraged from banking or opening up a brokerage account or making investments overseas just because you got to file a form. Quite frankly, if you work with the kind of tax vendors that we work with, they may just handle it in the course of your normal return, like for no extra money. Now, if you have 10 different offshore structures in your offshore network and they each have different bank accounts and multi-currencies, it can get more complicated. But if you're just saying, I'm going to open a bank account or two, do a little bit of investment, hold a few other currencies, make some payments, just keep a liquid emergency fund, it's not going to be as difficult as you think. So don't think that you're going to get, don't be dissuaded from doing this. And people say, oh, I'm more likely to be audited. Well, you're more likely to be audited with they're hiring all these new IRS agents, whether the number is 87,000 or 22,000 or whatever it is people want to tell you for political purposes. They're hiring more IRS agents. Audit is going to go up if you're one of these evil rich people who want to protect your money. But I don't know that I or anyone I've talked to in the business has seen a higher audit rate of people just because they have a bank account somewhere else. So let's start with 7 different types of accounts that you need to report. The first one, of course, is bank accounts. That could be a savings account, checking account, could be in a different currency. The Treasury puts out different tables in terms of converting currencies. What's the exchange rate you need to consider? And so if you have a foreign bank account or investment account that's inside of an IRA, then that may be reportable differently or even not reportable, but bank accounts are going to be reportable, number one. And so you might have multiple accounts at a bank. You might have multiple account numbers. You might have to close one account because you lost your debit card and open a new one. That's going to be what complicates having to keep track of different things over the years. Number 2, stock ownership, often reported on Form 8938 to comply with FATCA. And so if you hold it inside of a foreign corporation, or if you hold substantial shares in a private company, or I suppose a public company, you would have to also file Form 5471. So if you're a business owner and you have a business overseas, you would file Form 5471. If you have an interest in some kind of foreign company that would require Form 5471, you need to do that as well. So stock ownership in a public market can be reportable, as well as, by the way, direct stock ownership. I mean, we're not necessarily talking about ETFs that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. I happen to think investing in taking possession of stocks or equity funds overseas is better and more diversified and actually gives you more exposure. But you also might need to file Form 5471. Foreign life insurance policies. These can be complicated, but those also may be reportable. And what you need to is consider is there may be a tax that you're subject to every year. Income generated from the investment may be taxable, so if you have cash value, that all has to be considered, because even if you don't live in the United States, you are subject to tax on things like passive income, foreign insurance policies, etc. Foreign pension plans are also in there. There's numerous forms, 3520, 8621, may be reported on an FBAR along with 8938. So foreign pension plans, by the way, I hear about I haven't heard about it recently, but the Malta pension plan. Different tax practitioners can have different advice. I've talked to a couple of our tax practitioners. That's too aggressive. That's too cute. So I'm sure there'll be people who disagree. Some because they sell it or have sold it. But that was an issue that people were doing, and it just wasn't a good idea necessarily. Pooled funds and accounts, so foreign mutual funds, ETFs, also reported along with stocks. Foreign entity ownership, so if you have ownership again in a foreign company, that would be reportable as well. So even if even some LLCs may need to be reported. By the way, keep in mind, other countries may call an LLC something that the U.S. would consider a C corporation. Right, so just the fact that it's called an LLC doesn't mean it's the same as an LLC. So like Nevis, I think Panama, the UAE, like some of the free zones, Georgia, these countries have LLCs. In many cases, it's equivalent to a C corp. And so people think, oh, it's an LLC. Well, yeah, they just call it that. Doesn't mean it's treated the same for tax purposes in the United States. So keep that in mind if you have a foreign entity, or if you're investing in someone else's entity as a venture investor or real estate deal, whatever, then that may be reportable. Foreign real estate also is usually reportable on Schedule E. Now, we've talked about for many years, precious metals vaulted outside of the banking system are generally non-reportable. Now, if you put your gold bars in a bank, talked to someone recently who was doing that. I said, oh, are you reporting them on FBAR? Yeah, it's just a sub-account in my bank account. Okay, well, number one, what if the bank closes down, there's a bank holiday, or who knows what happens, you can't get in and get your gold. And so you should, in my opinion, not investment advice, privately vault your gold. There's plenty of private vaults around the world. You can generally keep that legally non-reportable. Foreign real estate is another way to do that. And so when a person owns foreign real estate, that in and of itself is not generally reportable. However, number one, income generated from that may be, even if you pay tax on the gains or on the income from that real estate in the country where the real estate is located overseas, you are still going to have obligations to the United States, including, even if you pay something somewhere and it's not as much, you may have to top it up. So you want to make sure that you're not paying double. You want to make sure that you're getting the proper credits. But foreign real estate in and of itself, not reportable, but the income is. If it's part of a structure, if you're putting the foreign real estate in some kind of retirement plan or some kind of corporate structure, sometimes U.S. citizens who are doing business overseas will use certain corporate structures to hold investments that they make for deferral purposes. And so that structure will be reportable. And now the real estate itself is up for grabs in there as well. And so you want to be aware of that as well as if it's in some kind of trust. I mean, so whatever vehicle it's in, it needs to be reported, and then the real estate itself might be subject to Schedule E. So those are 7 different types of property and accounts that you want to be aware of. And so you want to work with folks who are more internationally versed in what you need to file. There's a lot to keep up with. And so this is why I make sure, for as long as I was a U.S. taxpayer, I made sure I had professionals who were international focused. Because I can tell you from experience, the very first year I used a very prominent U.S. firm. They didn't understand the first thing about any of this. They didn't understand the terminology. They didn't understand the foreign earned income exclusion. They didn't understand any of this. And so fortunately I got it done. And fortunately everything was done legally. That's the point here. You want to do it legally. If you don't like reporting all your accounts to the United States, here's what you do. You get a second citizenship. You can get it in a matter of months if you want in the Caribbean through citizenship by investment. You can get it in a matter of months in Turkey by citizenship by investment. You can get a little bit longer if you're entitled to citizenship by descent. You get citizenship whether it's in the Caribbean or Latin America, whether it's in Europe, wherever you may have ancestors. You get citizenship there. It may take a while. And then you can give up your U.S. citizenship, relinquish your green card, stop being a U.S. person by whatever means that you are a U.S. person for tax purposes. But that's the way to get out of this. Until then, you've got to file the forms for your foreign corporations, your foreign trusts, your foreign assets. It's not just bank accounts, it's all foreign financial accounts, and I don't want you to get into trouble. So hook up with somebody, whether it's through our network or whether it is someone that you find on your own who's international focused, who knows how to do this. Stay compliant. Don't be one of the headlines that I read where you have to pay millions of dollars because you didn't do it properly.